Well, it seems that 24 hours is a long time in the news cycle. As you recall in my last report, I was taking both to task the odious left and the establishment GOP over their reaction to Milo Yiannopoulos speaking at CPAC in 2017. It seems since then there's been allegations levelled at Milo for supporting paedophilia by his enemies, based on previous statements he had made 2 years ago, that have been taken out of context. As a result, he has had his invitation to speak at CPAC removed and his book deal dropped by the publisher. What is also noteworthy is how swiftly this was done before he had an opportunity to respond. The MILO'S network, as much as we can understand from the evidence before us, is innocent of such allegations posed by his haters. I'm particularly disappointed by the people organising CPAC that acted prior to Milo offering his defence. If Milo is guilty of anything at all, it is that he is suffering from some form of Stockholm Syndrome, as his record of fighting paedophilia is available in the public domain, and if people who should know better had bothered to check, they would know that these allegations are nothing but a puff of smoke. We on the MILO'S network would like to offer Milo the opportunity to defend himself, but the mainstream media is not allowing him to. Therefore, we have decided to play his video defense in full and let you decide. Roll the video.
Hey guys, it's Milo here. You've probably seen by now reports and videos that allege that I'm some kind of apologist for pedophilia or some kind of enabler of child abuse. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I find those crimes to be absolutely disgusting. I find those people to be disgusting. And I think that my reporting on this speaks for itself. I've exposed 3 pedophiles in my career. One of them, Nicholas Nyberg, who was a anti-Gamergate activist who supported white nationalism and described himself as a pedophile. Another was Luc Bozier, a London entrepreneur, former business partner of Louise Mensch, who was caught asking for underage material online. And a third one, Chris Layden, is a London photographer who I exposed and who is about to start a rape trial as a result of my reporting. I've also, in many occasions, blisteringly criticized the left for its constant excuse-making over pedophilia. In particular, Salon, which publishes Todd Nickerson, a so-called virtuous pedophile, a guy who thinks that he's okay because although he's attracted to children, he doesn't actually do anything. I think my record speaks for itself, and the portions that were edited out of the videos that you've seen show, for instance, me saying that I agree with the current age of consent, that I support, I support the current age of consent, that it's, quote, about right, end quote. I think that people can put 2 and 2 together and work out why this video is coming out now. There's stuff that's been on the internet for a really long time. I think people can understand, you know, obviously there's frustration from some bits of the Republican establishment, but I don't want to blame anyone because I said the things that you've seen, and some of them were very stupidly worded. Some of the wording that I used was dumb. And if I could go back, in most cases, you guys know, if I say something outrageous or offensive, in most cases my only regret is I didn't piss off more people. But in this case, if I could do it again, I wouldn't phrase things the same way, because it's led to confusions. For instance, I was told that one of the numbers that people are fixating on is 13, and the implication that I was advocating for sex between 13-year-olds. Well, the video that came out was edited to include a section where I said that consent was arbitrary and oppressive, but that was from a discussion about affirmative consent on college campuses. That was placed next to a section about 13-year-olds to make it look like I was saying that consent for 13-year-olds was arbitrary and oppressive, and that's not the case. When I spoke about relationships between older men and younger men, I used the word boys, and I shouldn't have done that. Gay people do say like boy and girl to mean people of you know, consenting adults very often. Sometimes it's like it's usually like the passive partner gets to, you know, is the boy. But I understand that straight people wouldn't necessarily know that. And so, you know, that I wouldn't do again. All I would reiterate is, you know, you guys know that I can make edgy jokes. You guys know that I can sometimes push the boundaries of acceptable humor. This is one of those cases in which I should have phrased things differently. And these videos from a year ago and a year and a half ago, you know, late, boozy, long live streams, I phrased things poorly. And I enabled my detractors and critics to assemble material that looked very damning, but which does not reflect my opinions. So for that, I'm sorry, because I know that a lot of you are out there defending me and wondering how to do that, because the material does look so unpleasant and distasteful. Another thing that looks unpleasant and distasteful about it is the tone in which I'm talking. I would just say this. This is something of which I was a victim. It's something that I lived through. It's something that happened to me. It didn't ruin my life. And the reason it didn't ruin my life is I had laughter and I had humor, and I was able to turn it into a joke, and I was able to brush it off and make jokes, make what are obviously jokes, you know, like getting head from a priest kind of jokes. You guys know that. I understand that a lot of, you know, 60-year-old journalists wouldn't, and would be very horrified by the tone, by the sort of apparently flippant tone that I was using. Again, you know, speaking about this subject, I don't think anything should be off limits for humor, but I do regret some of the word choices. I have been uninvited from CPAC, which I'm disappointed with. The statement from CPAC said that there was a video in which I defended pedophilia. That simply isn't true. I didn't. It was not my intention, and it wasn't what the words that I used meant. What I did do, and I stand by, because it's perfectly true, is say that in many, sorry, I have really bad flu, is say that in many gay relationships, well, for many young gay men, the first relationship they really have, the first long relationship they have, is with an older guy who perhaps takes care of them financially, takes care of them emotionally, and very often that can be a release. It can be an escape from an abusive or a uncaring or a you know, difficult household. And if they're having problems at home with their mum and dad, you know, very often kids of 17 will have relationships, for instance, with people of 29 years old. And that's what happened to me, and that's exactly the ages. I was 17 and he was 29. And it was a relationship that ended up lasting a decade. And that's where I was coming from, speaking about my own personal experiences of this stuff, saying that, you know, of course this stuff happens and it's disgusting, and I abhor it. Of course, any reasonable person would. It's revolting. And I can only say again, you know, I find nothing but disgust, as my reporting record shows, for people who support and stick up for and make excuses for pedophiles. That is not what I intended to do in these conversations. And speaking from my own personal experience, all I was seeking to convey was that I had a relationship, I had an experience as a 17-year-old with a 29-year-old guy that turned into a 10-year relationship. I mean, my first real proper boyfriend was the guy I ended up being with for 10 years. I'm not with them anymore, but that's a sizable relationship, and not the sort of abusive caricature of, you know, older man kind of abusing, and disposing of a younger boy. So I wanted to make some of that stuff clear. I'm going to attempt to reach out to some TV studios to get my point of view across, because it's very frustrating having the media repeat these allegations. It's very frustrating having so many people just blindly repeat things because they don't take the time to sort of see the nuance in the videos, or to appreciate that some of the one video, there was a unedited one, and I have to stand by my words, and I wouldn't phrase those things the same way twice maybe, but some of the same thing went on with the rest of the videos. To anyone who was upset by this, and anyone who has had their faith in me dented by this, I'm sorry. It's frustrating that CPAC has decided to yank my speaking slot, because I won't get a chance to defend this on a, you know, and put it to rest, because I really want to I want to move on with my life and get this, you know, get this situation cleared up. So that's frustrating, but I you know, I understand why they had to do it. I do have you know, some appearances that are going to be coming up over the next couple of days on TV, and one live one where I hope to be able to explain more fully, for those who want more granular detail, exactly what I meant by, you know, various remarks, and to make completely clear to those people who have pre-ordered my book, who are looking forward to reading Dangerous, which is going to be one of the big books of the decade, to people who enjoy my journalism, people who come to my college shows, to people who are, people who are just Facebook Milo fans, that I in no way at any time condoned or intended to condone, it's not my meaning at all, child abuse, child sex abuse. And indeed, as a reminder, my entire journalistic career has been evidence of the opposite. I have outed 3 pedophiles myself in my own reporting, which is 3 more than most of my critics. And by the way, I was one of the first people to talk about Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was a British entertainer, worked for the BBC. Everyone in media sort of knew that there was something not quite right about him. And when he died, I was maybe the first British journalist to ask whether some of the scandals were going to come out now, whether people were going to start being honest about what Jimmy Savile was up to. I was one of the first. So take that into account. I've done 4 really substantial, significant, gestures in my reporting career. And I hope that, with all of the expense and legal time and reporting time that it takes to report, for instance, on, the Gamergate feminist who turned out to be someone who had identified himself as a white nationalist and himself as a pedophile. The amount of time it takes to report and all that stuff, to check your facts, to get it through legal, the amount of resources I had to call on from my bosses. This is real stuff. It takes time, it takes effort, and that is a pretty strange way to proceed if you are somebody who turns a blind eye to pedophilia. So thanks for listening, and I hope that's cleared it up for you. I'll be back soon. All right, thanks guys.
If you like this video, please don't forget to like and share it with your friends. If you'd like to hear more content like this, then please don't forget to press the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Please ensure you also press the bell icon, otherwise you won't be alerted when the new content is uploaded. This is Monolabe signing off for the Monolabe Network. Thank you.